Nearly 2 years ago, I updated my Apple TV here, and it was not the latest generation. It was the Apple TV 4K second generation, which was rocking the A12 chip. About a year later, they updated it to the A15 chip, and you probably all recall me saying things like, oh, why would you put such a powerful chip in there? Why do we need the A15 chip? And then I memed it for a while because pretty much the only feature the A15 had over the A12 was Apple Music Sing. They couldn't get that working on the A12 chip, and I didn't care about Apple Music Sing, of course, so I said, sure, go ahead, buy the old A12 Apple TVs. You can get them for cheaper. They do pretty much the exact same thing. Yeah, they up the storage a little bit on the new ones, but most people are not downloading that much content onto their Apple TVs anyway, and I'm here today telling you I may have been wrong. In fact, there very well may be a good set of advantages to rocking the A15 chip instead of the A12, but based on your guys' ownership experience, maybe we'll find out if this is just a tvOS problem or genuinely a silicon problem, because it's a very consistent bug I've started running into. It's very hard to emulate, so I'm not gonna repeat it for you on camera, but you'll have to take my word for it. I've run into multiple situations, particularly when watching a lot of movies and TV shows on Macs, so maybe the app developer is to blame, but there are often times where the show that you're trying to watch freezes its subtitles, it stops showing you what the people are saying, and then you go, okay, this is a bug, let me fix this. But then the trackpad on the Siri remote becomes unresponsive. I'm no longer able to turn subtitles on or off, and I can't even pause the show. But what's weird, and I've had this same exact bug happen on YouTube as well as Disney Plus, if you run a show for a very long time, it feels like the bug gets worse. It's some kind of like cache loop or RAM management issue, but essentially the menu button works, the back button works, the volume buttons will continue to work, but not the D-pad on top. Not tracking, not clicking buttons, so you can't rewind, you can't skip forward, you can't even swipe up on the playhead to try to scrub across the timeline or turn subtitles on or off, and the whole remote feels like it's becoming unresponsive. But again, I know it's not necessarily a Bluetooth or a connection issue because some of the buttons do continue to work. Like I said, the back button, the menu button, and the volume buttons will keep functioning. So I know that the remote is still able to communicate with the TV, but certain aspects are not, and it honestly feels like kind of a system side error going on with tvOS that can honestly get frustrating fairly quickly. And I always thought, you know, Apple needs to make an Apple TV stick, a Nano, that's really small and can hide on the back, but it's crazy to me that using something as basic as an A12 chip, which I know is old now, but clearly they thought it was good enough back in the day to power a whole 4K TV, is actually starting to show signs of wear. Even though there's no battery or anything like that to worry about, it still feels like, hey, come on, like, why isn't this listening? What's going on with the remote? And I can close the app or reboot the TV and suddenly the controls come back again. So it's not super repeatable. I don't think it's an issue with the remote necessarily. It feels like a system side RAM management issue where the TV gets confused by the amount of content that it's chugging out all at once. And maybe that's why Apple decided a 15 chip might be the better option for your TV streaming box. So I'm very curious if you guys have had similar issues to me, or if I'm the only one experiencing this. But also, 1 out of every 20 or 30 times I turn on my TV, I will just get straight up static. It's very annoying, very buggy, and I just have to unplug the HDMI cable from the Apple TV, plug it back in, and suddenly it works again. That could be an issue with my HDMI cable, but it's weird how consistently it will work just fine like 30 times, and then on the 30th time it acts up again. Also a frustrating thing, I don't know if this is a design flaw or a design intent, but I have never once, no matter how many people call me on FaceTime, gotten it to show up on the TV as an option to answer the call. I have my account signed in on here and everything, it's ready to go, and yet every time someone calls me, it shows up on my phone, but will not show up on the TV. So I was really excited and pumped to try out FaceTime on tvOS, but I gotta admit, the fact that I can't answer calls from the TV makes it very, very difficult to ever really utilize the feature. I've probably used it twice since they launched this feature like a year ago now, and again, I have to make the call from my end, and even that experience has been somewhat buggy. So tvOS has been somewhat of a disappointment, but I still have to admit it's better than pretty much any other TV user interface I've experienced out there. I like having just one remote that's capable of doing everything. I love the volume indicator being super minimal and clean. I love that there's multitasking, which we don't have on a lot of other TVs out there, so that it remembers in the background, like, hey, this is what he was watching on YouTube, and then this is what he was watching on Macs. But because I'm more concerned about the RAM management, there's more and more times where I'm closing these background apps out of fear that the TV's gonna crash itself again, and I'm not gonna be able to pause the TV show or fix the subtitles from actually working. Have you had these bugs on your A15 chip Apple TV, or have you had these bugs on your A12 chip or older Apple TV? Feel free to let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. Seriously, helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. So thanks again. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you all in the next one.